Hey everyone, it's Ivan with kitbadger.com, out here to tell you about the 2 worst malfunctions I've ever experienced. When it comes to like AR malfunctions, you have all your standard fare, double feed, things like that, or you have really bad ones like bolt override. Again, not fun, but fairly quick to clear, pretty easy once you're familiar with it. But I've ran into some other ones. So the second worst one I've ever experienced was actually 2019 down in Texas, I guess, for the tactical games. And I was shooting brand new prototype Sugar Weasel by Q in 5.56, using some Tango Down mags and some ammo from Idaho Ordnance Factory, local place to me. So down there shooting through this course of fire, this like stage, crushing it, doing amazing. And I end up thinking I'm done, grab my sandbag, go across the finish line, boom, like minutes ahead of the second fastest person. And I realized I still had like a round or two to shoot. And I was like, oh man. So integrity, it's usually good. I'm like, I need to go shoot this. Pick up my sandbag, run back over, get back to the firing line. People are still shooting. Get down there, shoot, and end up with this weird like stoppage. And I'm like, what's going on? Clear it out, and nope, won't go into battery. So I'm like, okay, like clear it out again, won't go into battery. So I stop, I look, I'm like, this does not look good. And so I ultimately end up breaking my gun down, pulling the bolt carrier out, and the round, basically the projectile had separated. Fortunately, did not get lodged in the barrel, but separated, dumped all of the powder inside of basically the chamber. So nothing coming behind it would actually seat. So I have this thing broken down. Basically I have to like blow it out. It takes forever. I'm banging this thing out, blowing it out, cleaning the carrier off, load it back up, fire my last round before grabbing the sandbag and crossing the finish line. Not fun. I ended up, I think, coming in last in that heat. Otherwise would have crushed everyone by like handily, but it happened. So big picture, what had happened is, as I said, projectile had somehow came loose because it wasn't in there good and dumped all of that powder. So no matter what, you were never going to chamber another round until it got cleaned out. And it wasn't something like lock the bolt back and like blow in there. Like, had to actually take that thing apart and get it going, which not the fastest malfunction to clear. Who is the culprit there? Kind of never know for sure, but the only time I ever got it to happen again was with that combination with that Idaho Ordnance Factory ammo. Not trying to throw them under the bus. We tried to troubleshoot it. They tried to troubleshoot it with me, helping me out. And they ended up actually sending off ammo to go get independently tested by a third party as far as that crimping, if it was strong enough. Came back, they said, hey, it's good. I'm like, okay, cool. Can I see like the report and stuff? And nothing. Asked for it a couple times, never gave it to me. So probably a bad batch. Oh well, it happened. Which brings me to the worst malfunction I have ever had happen. So it was actually down at Thunder Ranch. I had loaned my Radiant Model 1 to a buddy. He was shooting it. And that gun I've actually never had a malfunction with outside of malfunctions that I've set up in the gun for the sake of training malfunctions. But there we were, shot it through, well, I had previously shot it across the whole country, coast to coast, shot it at a 3-day night vision course, and we were there shooting at a 3-day like pistol carbine course. It was the very last day. We were shooting out to distance, and I was shooting a different gun next to him. There on the firing line, and he ran into some sort of stoppage. Tried clearing it some more. Finally dropped the mag, and it's like I don't know what's going on here. And it's like, all right, no worries, hang on. And so finished kind of that little string of fire. And again, it was at the very end, so couldn't have happened at a better time. Ended up taking a look at it, and I'm like, what is going on here? And like, it took me forever to figure out what had happened. And then even once I did, I was like, I don't know how to fix this. So what had happened is, if you're unfamiliar at Thunder Ranch, a lot of times, well, if you're going to shoot on the close range, not brown range, then you're going to shoot frangible, pistol and rifle. So we were shooting frangible from, I think, center fire with an S, and stuff works pretty good. Occasionally you'll have projectiles break and stuff, but it's never been like a big deal. It was today though. So the projectile ended up breaking. Come to find, like, it took me a while to figure this out, like diagnose, because I could pull the bolt back, but it wouldn't go forward in the battery no matter what, forward assist. But since it wouldn't go all the way forward, I also couldn't break the gun down to pull the bolt carrier out and see what was going on. So finally figured out the projectile had somehow broken, turned, and lodged itself nose first into the opening of the gas key on the bolt carrier group. So now there's a projectile sticking out of the gas key, which means it's hitting the gas tube and not letting it basically seat. So the bolt carrier will not go back into battery, or the bolt won't go back into battery. The whole bolt carrier won't move forward. And it doesn't really matter if it goes back, because as soon as you start pulling back, you lose access to that part. It was deadlined. I ended up taking it back to Clint's house and basically fishing around with some dental picks. Again, fortunately this happened like probably like the last string of fire on day 3 down there. And yeah, so these little guys, basically that whole bullet sheared off and got stuck in there. Finally, with that pick, I was able to essentially stick it in there and grab something on here, or at least enough to just create some like tension and friction while trying to pull the bolt back, and it ended up popping out of the gas key. It was crazy. Again, like, I wasn't really sure what was going to happen if I couldn't do that, because I'm like, okay, well, I can't take this thing apart. Like, the bolt is back enough to where even if I were to like undo the castle nut, take off the barrel or the receiver extension, still wouldn't matter. Like, I can't separate it. I probably would have had to, I guess, take off the handguard, I don't know, and then maybe the barrel and the gas tube so that it would go forward enough, maybe, so then I could separate the upper and lower. I don't know. It was a huge, huge mess. And if that happened like somewhere for reals, yeah, you just throw your gun away and find a new one. Like, not good at all. And I, again, down there at Thunder Ranch, talked to Clint about it. Like, they've shot tons and tons of, like, this is all they shoot down there, except for like distance stuff. And yeah, never seen anything like it. Not to mention, in his vast experience of shooting that platform, never saw anything like it. And it happened. And if it happened once, it could potentially happen again. And it's not to say that it's just frangible. Like, with that other malfunction I had and the ammo I had, the projectile came out. So depending on movement, everything that's going on, projectile can ultimately end up turning, getting stuck in the gas key, and your gun is like really, really dead until you can somehow get it out. And I just so happened to be able to have time and opportunity with a dental pick. And it was not a quick thing. Like, it took a long time fishing around, trying to like hold the light, because as you're pulling the bolt carrier back, it's becoming less accessible. But yeah, finally managed to get that thing out of there. If it happens, I think that's your best play, other than, yeah, taking the handguard off, taking the barrel nut off, taking the barrel and gas tube out so you can separate them and go from there. Not fun. Silver lining to all of this, I did not get killed in the streets. Fortunately, it happened at opportune places and times, kind of. I ended up losing the stage, but like, it's a game, literally in the name. Not a big consequence there. And the other time is just out there in training, fortunately at the very end of that training, into the last day. But I bring this up because if it happened once, it can obviously happen again. Both of these malfunctions, I'm sure, super rare. They basically relate to the projectile breaking or somehow coming loose, and problems happening after that. As I mentioned, the first one, projectile came out, filled everything with powder. Got to clean it out before another round will seat. After that, like, it'll shoot, but got to clean it out, which is kind of a showstopper until then. That second one, yeah, like you just won the lottery in reverse. But if one of these happens to you, yeah, curious to hear about it, because it seems pretty rare. But yeah, sample size of 1, 2 pretty bad malfunctions, and ways that I ultimately ended up clearing them. But as always, thanks for joining us at kitbadger.com. I look forward to seeing you next time.